Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our November edition of our Traffic Talk. I'm Jeanne Ingersoll. I'm the Director of Business Development for ShopperTrack Analytics North America. I am here with my wonderful buddy, Grant Gustafson, our Head of Retail Consulting for ShopperTrack Analytics North America. Grant, I feel like we wait all year for this time, and it is so exciting. We are on the cusp of the busiest shopping day of the year, Black Friday, of course. And we've shared some insights the past several months leading up to this, and we are excited to share with our audience even more details around what to expect as we approach the busiest shopping day of the year. But before we jump in though, Grant, how about if I were to share a couple of quick hitters on how Black Friday actually came to be and what made it what it is today?
I think that'd be awesome, Jeanne.
Cool. So, believe it or not, in the 1950s, the term Black Friday was coined back in Philadelphia by the police to describe traffic jams and crowded streets the day after Thanksgiving as shoppers actually flooded the city. So that was the first time that term was used relative to any sort of shopping type holiday specific to the day after Thanksgiving. But then by the 80s, retailers really flipped the script and turned Black Friday into more of a positive kind of milestone by signaling when retailers actually moved from the red into the black, highlighting profitability for their stores and for the brand. So that's when it started to really generate a lot of movement towards getting shoppers into the store. So fast forward from the 80s to the 90s, this is when it evolved to become the chaotic shopping day that the majority of us are familiar with or have fond memories of. High discounts, low stock, stores being open 24 hours a day, the thought of a doorbuster, getting in line at midnight, all of those fun things. And fast forward to now, in a post-COVID environment, retailers have begun to put a larger focus back on kind of the human aspect of it and really taking a stance to actually be closed on Thanksgiving. There's a massive list that exists of retailers that are taking that stance to be closed, really to give employees a chance to recharge, spend time with their loved ones, and keep the focus back on what matters most during that day. It's almost like they wear it as a badge of honor. So fun facts on just the history of Black Friday. But Grant, can you take us a step further? What does the data actually tell us to expect?
Yeah, absolutely. First, can I say that as a retailer, I think it's incredibly important that retailers are giving that day back to their employees. But just like you talked about, as Black Friday has evolved throughout the decades, we've seen an evolution over the last few years, really since the pandemic. Sometimes we see these year-to-year changes are due more to the calendar and the specific year. But in the case of Black Friday, this is really a shift in consumer shopping behavior versus a change in the calendar. So while Black Friday looks very different today than it did just a few years ago, it's still an incredibly important day for retailers. It's the busiest day of the year by almost a factor of 2. If we look back, pre-pandemic, Black Friday represented somewhere between about, 4.4 to 4.5% of the overall holiday shopping season's traffic share. But what we can really see is that since it bottomed out in 2020 during the peak of the pandemic, Black Friday's actually been making a comeback. So last year, Black Friday represented 4.23% of the overall traffic for the holiday season, which was a marked impact from its lows in 2020. And what you can actually see is that there's been a steady increase or recovery of Black Friday over the years. Something that's also really unique about Black Friday itself is its share of the week of of Thanksgiving week has actually stayed relatively stable over the last decade or so. So what we've seen is as early promotions are continuing to drive shoppers earlier and earlier into the season, and we see the week of Thanksgiving increasing in its importance to the holiday overall, what we've seen is that Black Friday has recovered along with that increase in share of the week of Thanksgiving. So, what we're looking at here is, well, the day definitely feels busy. It doesn't have the same early morning cachet. It really just looks, and the shape of the day is just a really busy Saturday that's going to peak somewhere between 2 and 3 p.m. That afternoon. So, with that said, Black Friday is still a must-make day for retailers out there.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing the detail on that. It's interesting to understand how it has evolved over the past handful of years, and great to know that we're getting back to kind of what those pre-pandemic numbers were. And there's also this kind of buzz about getting back to the nostalgia of Christmas and the holidays and that feel for whatever that may feel for anybody. So I love that that's kind of supporting that too, and that people are getting back to that and getting out there and shopping. So as always, you can connect with Grant and I on LinkedIn. Feel free to reach out to us, send us messages. We're happy to continue the conversation. You can also stay tuned for upcoming holiday updates as the season progresses as well. This is not the last one. We're actually going to be releasing Black Friday results the day after Black Friday, so Saturday the 29th, followed by the full weekend results the following Tuesday. So be sure to keep your eyes peeled. And then last but not least, we are going to be in attendance again at NRF, the big show in January in New York City. So you can see us at booth 5321. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next month. Thanks,
Until
Grant.
next time, Jeannie.